Hey guys, Effie here. Happy Valentine's Day. For today's video, I don't have a Valentine's Day card, but I do have a gorgeous card created with our Smiling Cosmos and our Seriously Amazing Sentiment set. Now, funny story behind this card is that when I stamped the sentiment, I originally stamped it with our rose quartz dye ink, but there was some leftover blue ink on the stamp from a previous project. This is why it's important to clean your stamps. So I just set that panel aside and I made this card up in the corner. And then after I finished with that card, I was like, you know what? Let me use this panel because why not? I didn't want to waste it. So I just took it, I stamped this happy birthday sentiment with our deep sapphire ink. And it turned out really pretty because you have the bold sentiment with the smaller scripty sentiment that really complement each other well. Now I'm just going to stamp the top portion of our Smiling Cosmos cluster onto the top and bottom portion of this panel. And I'm using my Misty tool to help me position the cluster. So as I stamp the top part of the panel, I didn't want to overlap the sentiment, so I just had to shift that panel up a little bit. And look how gorgeous these Smiling Cosmos are. You can almost leave the card as is, but I just wanted to do a little bit of coloring. So since we stamped the clusters with our Caviar Hybrid Copic Friendly ink, I did hit the whole panel with my heat gun for a few seconds just to ensure that the ink was completely dried. So here I'm just coloring in all of the cosmos with 3 shades of Copic markers. Actually, I'm only coloring in the 2 larger cosmos with the 3 shades. And then for the smaller flowers in this cluster, I'll use the lightest and mid-tone markers depending on the size. So if the flowers are a little bit more on the smaller side, I'll just color them in with the lightest marker. But if they're medium size, then I'll go ahead and add that second mid-tone shade for a little bit more depth. But the coloring for this cluster was fairly easy and it was pretty simple because I just kind of colored all of the florals with that lightest tone very quickly. I started from the inner petals and then I just kind of feathered that light blue color out towards the outer edges of the petals, but I didn't bring that color all the way to the edge. I left a little bit of white space at the edges of the petals and they kind of act as highlights. Then as I went in with my mid-tone marker, I just added a little bit of shading and I just made sure not to overtake that first layer of color that I just put down because we want a really nice simple gradient. If you overtake that base color with that second mid-tone color, then you're just going to be left with a really dark floral, which is fine if that is the look you're going for, but for me, I want a nice gradient when I'm coloring with my Copics. Once I finished coloring in the florals, I colored in the leaves. I started off with this G02 Copic marker and I thought that it was just a little too bright for me. So I went back and went over the color with a YG25 marker, and this is more of a leafy green color. And I think I like the color contrast with the blue better. After I finished with the YG25, I added V06 to the berries, and I really love this purple accent because it just went with some of that purple tone that you see in the sentiment. Lastly, I'm just going to embellish my card using our Medallion gold sequins in varying sizes, and my card is now complete. I hope you guys enjoyed today's project and video. Again, happy Valentine's Day. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel because I update it on a weekly basis. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.